Jack had always loved broken things. Old machines, rusty wires, dead screens. They didn't scare him. They spoke to him. On Mars Outpost 9, people sold junk every day. Things that didn't work, things they didn't want. One cold morning, Jack saw a new listing. Old cargo ship, no power, no records, cheap. He blinked. A ship with no records? That was strange. Too cheap, he bought it. The next hour, a drone dropped the ship near his repair dome. It was big, dirty, and full of burn marks. The metal was cracked. One side looked like it had exploded. Jack walked closer. The ship made no sound. No lights. Dead. He climbed up, opened the hatch, and stepped inside. Darkness. He turned on his torch. The air was thin, cold. He could see broken walls, wires hanging down, and claw marks. Something was wrong. He moved slowly. His boots made soft clicks on the metal floor. Then, from the corner, he heard it. A small sound. Like a breath. Like something alive. Jack froze. He raised his torch, hands shaking just a little. In the far corner, behind some broken panels, he saw her. She wasn't human. A small figure, curled up. No clothes, just a blanket of dust. Skin faintly blue, hair like silver wires. Eyes big, round, glowing faint gold. She didn't move. Jack whispered, "Hey, hey, are you okay?" No answer. He stepped closer. The air felt colder now. He noticed she was breathing. Merely no heat, no food, no water. No voice, just her, silent and still, like a ghost. Jack dropped to his knees. "Don't worry, I'll help you." He gently lifted her. She was light, too light. Like holding paper, she didn't fight, she didn't speak. She just looked at him, her eyes full of fear, confusion. Jack carried her out through the Martian wind and into his dome. He placed her on a cot, gave her heat, wrapped her in a blanket. Still no words. He scanned her. The system said, "Unknown species. No match. Not human, of course not, but alive." That night, Jack sat near her, watching. She didn't sleep. She didn't eat. She just stared at the walls, sometimes at him. Jack tried words. "Can you hear me?" She didn't react. He drew on a screen. Stick figures. Stars. Food. She stared at them, then touched one. The food image. Jack smiled. He brought her a water pouch and soft fruits. She looked at them like she had never seen such things. Then slowly, she ate. Bit by bit, something inside Jack shifted. He had found a ship, broken, abandoned, worthless. But inside it, it found a person. Not human, but alive. Cold, lost, alone, and scared. The next day, she said her first word, barely a whisper. Sorry? Jack asked. She nodded. That was her name. Jack didn't ask more. Not yet. He fixed a small room for her, gave her clothes, simple things. Soft light. Gentle sounds. But at night, she still stared at the sky, like she was waiting for something, or afraid something would come. One morning, Jack checked the broken ship again. He connected the main panel to his tools. Then finally, the system gave him one file, a recording. He played it. Static screams. A voice in another. Language, then silence, then. Her voice said, say, crying, begging, and then nothing. Jack stood there, holding the cold screen. He didn't understand the words, but he understood the feeling. She had escaped something terrible. This wasn't just a broken ship. It was a prison, or a war zone. And Sari was not supposed to survive. He looked back at his dome. She was inside, sitting near a small heater, still quiet, not asking for help, not trusting, just there. Jack knew that feeling. He'd felt it once, long ago. Alone maybe. Somehow they weren't that different. But one thing was clear now. This girl, Sari, was not just a lost alien. She was the start of something big, Something dangerous. Something coming in, Jack. Jack had just stepped into a story much bigger than he ever imagined. Asterisk, the girl didn't speak. Not that day. Not the next. She sat in silence, watching everything like a wild animal in a strange cage. Eyes wide, body still, heart scared. Jack didn't push. He knew fear. He had lived alone for years. People said he was strange. He said nothing. Back machines didn't judge him. But she was different. She had come from the stars, but looked more lost than anyone he had ever seen. Her name was Sorry. It was all he knew. Every morning Jack brought her food, water, warm clothes. She took them without a word. She watched him carefully, like she didn't know if he was friend or foe. He noticed small things. She didn't like loud sounds. She always sat with her back to the wall, and she jumped whenever the door opened. One night, he found her staring at the fire, not warming her hands, not blinking, just staring, like she didn't understand what fire was. Jack sat across from her, quiet, still. He picked up a tool, an old scanner, turned it on. The soft hum filled the room. Sorry flinched. Jack turned it off right away. Sorry, he whispered. She nodded slowly. Then, for the first time, she moved closer to him. She pointed at the scanner, then at her own chest, then crossed her arms, a sign of pain. Jack understood. Someone did this to you? She didn't answer in words, but her eyes told the truth. She had been studied, controlled, used, not rescued. Not saved, escaped. Jack's hands curled into fists. He had seen war once years ago. But nothing made him angrier than the idea of someone hurting the weak, especially her. Days passed. Slowly, Sorry changed. She began to draw. Circles, stars, strange symbols. Jack watched her, studied her hands. The way she held tools, like she had trained for something. She was not just a lost girl. She was smart, skilled, careful, and afraid. One evening she pointed at the sky, then at her drawing, a star map. She tapped one star far beyond Earth's reach, then drew a line cutting through it. Jack looked at her. You're home? She nodded, then shook her head. Gone. Jack didn't ask how. He simply said, You're safe here. But Sorry looked away. She didn't believe it, not yet. The next twist came quietly. Jack's system buzzed. A signal, faint. Far an unknown ship had entered Mars orbit. No ID, no code, silent, just ... There Jack turned pale. Very few ships flew without identification. Even smugglers sent fake tags. This one. Shh. He looked at Say. She was already standing, staring at the screen. She knew. Jack stepped closer. Are they looking for you? Sorry didn't answer. But her hand slowly reached out and turned off the screen. Then she whispered one word. Hide. The room was silent. But Jack's mind was not. That one word, hide, kept echoing. Sorry didn't speak again. Hands wrapped around her knees, Jack stared at the black screen. That unknown ship was still out there, floating, watching, waiting. He had seen things before: smugglers, pirates, broken machines drifting in space. But this felt different. That ship wasn't lost. It was hunting, and Jack was sure now. Sorry was. What it was looking for, he needed answers. That evening, after Sorry fell asleep, Jack returned to the broken ship. Its walls were still scorched. Inside, the cold felt worse, like the place remembered pain. Jack moved fast, checking old power lines and control panels. Most systems were dead, but the black box, the flight recorder, had blinking lights now. Active, he connected his portable decoder. The screen buzzed. Lines of broken code scrolled, and then suddenly it clicked. Recovered. 1 audio log. Time 2:41 minutes. Jack's heart beat faster. He hit play. Static, a sharp hum, and a voice. Male, panicked, heavy breathing. No, 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 no. They're not supposed to. She wasn't. Then a crash. Screams, not one. Many. It sounded like a prison riot. Metal slamming. Sparks flying. Then came another voice. SA single quotes are. I not the quiet, soft voice Jack had heard. This was louder, frantic, in a different language. She was shouting, screaming. Then silence. The recording ended. Jack stood frozen. Fingers trembled as he replayed it again. This was not a rescue. This ship was an escape pod, and Sorry had been inside when it crashed. But from where? From what? He returned to the dome. Sorry was awake, sitting by the small heater. Watching him, he sat down, placed the device in front of her, hit play. She didn't stop him. She listened every second, eyes fixed on the screen. When her own voice played, she flinched. Just once, when it ended, she looked down. Slowly, she pointed to the screen, then made a motion like breaking a chain. Jack understood. You escaped. She nodded. Jack leaned forward. From where? Sorry looked into his eyes. Then she raised her hand, tapped the side of her head. Memories. The next moment was something Jack never expected. A soft blue light appeared around her fingers. Like glowing dust. Floating, she placed her hand near Jack's forehead, but not touching, and suddenly, he saw it. Not with eyes, not through a screen, but inside his mind. Images, a massive ship, cold, dark halls, glass rooms filled with creatures. Some screamed, some didn't move, all of them trapped. Then Sorry, younger, thinner, strapped to a chair, machines all around her, scanning, testing, hurting, a symbol on the wall. Red mark shaped like a claw, and a voice, robotic, repeating the same word, weapon. Jack gasped and pulled back. The vision stopped. He looked at her, breath heavy. They were turning you into something else. Sorry nodded, then pointed at her chest. I stopped it, she whispered, then looked at him. But they want it back. Outside. Jack's alarm blinked. The unknown ship was moving. Closer. He stood up. Fast. This place isn't safe anymore. Sorry, didn't panic. She stood beside him, calm, focused. She was not just hiding anymore. She was preparing. Asterisk. The ground shook. Not a big quake. Just enough to rattle tools on Jack's desk. He looked up. Ah! The screen was flashing. Alert. Unidentified ship entering lower orbit. Descending fast. Jack didn't need more warning. They've found us. He turned to SAs. Single quotes are. She was already standing. Still calm, but her eyes brighter now, focused. Ready, Jack grabbed his toolkit, shoved 2 food packs into his bag. He tossed Sorry a coat. Put this on. We're leaving. No questions. Obeyed. Outside, the Martian wind howled. Jack's rover was old, just like everything else he owned. But it worked. He powered it on. Lights blinked. Sorry jumped into the passenger seat above them. The enemy ship cut through the sky like a black knife. Silent, sharp, watching, they drove across the red dust, over dry hills and frozen ground. Jack didn't look back. He didn't have to. Felt the presence above. It's like a shadow too big to see. Then came the sound. A low hum. Growing louder, closer. Jack glanced at the mirror and froze. A small drone, sleek, fast, following them, then another. 3 total, all black. Armed, he pressed the pedal harder. The rover groaned, fighting the rough terrain. Hold on, he shouted. The first shot came fast, a blue beam slicing through the air. It hit the ground just meters behind them, throwing up red dust. Sorry, didn't scream. She looked back, raised her hand, and something invisible pushed the dust. Wall toward the drones. The first drone spun out. Crashed. Jack stared. You did that? Sorry didn't answer. Her eyes were glowing now, gold and silver mixed. Another beam shot past them. This time, it grazed. The rover sparks flew. The left panel melted slightly. Okay, that's it, Jack muttered. He turned hard. The rover bounced over rocks. Then the ground opened, a steep crack in the surface. The natural cave system long abandoned. Jack drove straight in. Darkness. Silence. Cold. The rover lights flickered. They were deep underground now. Safe for the moment, Jack stopped the engine. Say replaced her hand on the dashboard. The lights dimmed, then stabilized. She had calmed the system. With her touch, Jack took a deep breath. What are you? She looked at him, then slowly raised her hand. A small light appeared above her palm, spinning, soft, alive. Not weapon, she said. Not monster, then added, I chose to escape. Jack nodded. He finally understood. She wasn't just running, she was fighting. Back in her own way, they stayed in the cave for hours. Ada patched the rover. Shared a meal. Sorry, finally smiled, a small, tired smile. Then Jack pulled out his tablet. Zoomed into the crashed drone's signal. Bad news, he said. It sent a trace before it died. Sorry, yes. Glow faded. They will come again. Jack looked around the cave. No, this time, we won't run. The cave was silent. No wind, no screens, no signal, just stone. Jack sat on the rover's hood. Staring at the flickering light of his camp lantern, Sari stood at the far end of the cave, eyes closed, hands gently pressed to the cold wall. Jack didn't say a word. He waited. He could feel something shifting in the air. Not the kind of shift you see. It's the kind you feel in your chest, like before a storm. Then Sari opened her eyes. She walked toward him slowly. No fear, no sadness, only truth. She sat on the ground, cross-legged, calm. I will show you, she said. Jack nodded. I'm ready. She placed her hand near his again, and just like before, the visions returned. But this time, they were clearer. He saw a city, not like Earth's, floating towers, glowing rivers in the sky, creatures of light and stone. Sari's people, peaceful, connected. They didn't fight. They shared thoughts, shared feelings then. The sky turned red. Metal ships arrived. Not to trade, but to learn, to take. Scene shifted. Jack now stood inside a lab. Cold walls. White lights, cages inside them, children, aliens, humans, mixed machines, scanned them. Cut them, changed them. Then he saw Sari strapped to a table, her eyes full of light. And pain, the voice returned. Robotic.com, subject 9. Unique energy response, emotional bond, reactive, weapon potential, high. Jack wanted to scream, but he couldn't move. Then it changed again, A blast, fire, darkness. Sari running, barefoot, bloody, holding a stolen. She didn't look back. She ran to the ship, the one Jack had found. Locked herself inside, and vanished into space. Jack opened his eyes, back in the cave, sweat on his forehead, heart racing. He looked at her. You were just a child. Sari nodded. They took us to study, to change, to use. Her hands curled into fists. But they didn't understand our power. It comes from choice, from emotion, from connection. She looked at Jack. I felt your kindness. That's why I survived. Jack's throat tightened. All this time, he thought he'd saved her, but maybe she had saved him too. He stood and walked to the rover. Pulled up a solar map. Multiple ships were now near Mars. 3, maybe more. They're not here for just you, Jack said. She didn't reply. They're here for Earth. Sari finally spoke, her voice low. They want to finish what they started, not just study, not just test. They want to control. Jack stared at the map, and we're next. Pace the cave. They'll attack soon. Earth won't believe me. The Council ignores outer signals. No one listens to an old junker mechanic on Mars. Sari stood beside him. They will listen. To me, Jack looked at her. You're going to speak? She nodded, but I can't go alone. I need someone they trust. She held out her hand. Jack stared at it. Rough hands. Alien fingers. glowing lines under her skin. He took it. And in that moment, Jack wasn't just a mechanic anymore. He was part of something greater. Asterisk, the stars above Mars looked calm, but Jack knew that calm was a lie. They were coming, and Earth was still. Asleep, Jack tried everything. He sent warnings to Earth's satellite stations. He transmitted Sci-Fi Story, coded visuals, voice clips, even DNA data. No reply, just silence. Or worse, signal not recognized. They thought it was fake, another glitch from deep space. But it wasn't fake. The enemy ships were getting closer. Their shadows had already touched Mars. So Jack stopped sending signals. He started calling people. Real people. The kind who didn't wear shiny suits or sit behind big desks. Old pilots. Outpost scavengers, ex-soldiers, hackers living on mining rigs, people who had seen things, believed the unbelievable. They came one by one, not many, just a handful. But they didn't ask for proof. They saw, sorry, heard her speak, felt the truth in her voice, and they stayed. They made their base deep underground, beneath the same caves where Sari had shown Jack her past. Every day they trained, built weapons, tested defenses, modified the old ship Jack had bought, now alive again under Sari's touch. She moved through the machine like she had built it, connected to its systems, whispered to its metal. The ship responded. Lights pulsed with her heartbeat. Engines glowed with her thoughts. She was no longer just hiding, she was becoming. One night, as Jack worked late on a railgun module, he saw her standing outside under the open sky, alone, still. He walked out, his boots crunching over frozen dirt. You okay? He asked. She didn't turn. I feel them, she whispered. They're not far. Jack looked up. Nothing but stars. But he trusted her. She turned to him, and for the first time, he saw fear. I'm changing, she said. My kind, we were never meant to fight. Our power was meant for healing, for bonding. Jack stepped closer. But you are fighting. You're helping us. Helping Earth. She looked away. That's the problem. The more I use it, the more I become something else. Something colder, faster, less like me. Jack didn't have fancy words. He wasn't a soldier or a leader, but he said what he knew. You're still sorry. You're still the girl who whispered hide. Instead of running alone, that made her smile. Only for a second, but it was enough. Back in the base, the team had finished scanning the enemy fleet. 5 ships now, one huge A command vessel. For smaller, they were blocking signals. Moving slowly, strategically. They weren't just exploring, they were preparing. Sari stood at the center of the war table. She placed her hand on the map, and the projection changed. New paths, new strategies, weak spots she had seen there. Tech before she knew how they thought. But this time, she wasn't running. This, she said, is where we strike first. She pointed to a cargo ship cloaked, silent, full of weapons. If we take it down, they'll lose communication. We cut the chain. Everyone nodded, even Jack, even the ones who once called her alien. Now she was their leader as they prepared to leave. Jack stood near the ship's ramp. He watched the stars again. This time, he didn't feel small. This time, he knew. The war had already begun, and they were ready to fight back. The ship was quiet. Too quiet, not broken. Just holding its breath. Inside the cockpit, Jack strapped himself in. His hands hovered over the controls, but his eyes were on her. She stood at the center of the ship, glowing lines running across her arms like living circuits. She wasn't afraid. Not anymore. She had made peace with what she was. Not a weapon. Not a prisoner. Not a child lost in space. She was something new, and today, she was Earth's first line of defense. Outside, space burned. Enemy ships surrounded Mars like a black. Halo.5 in total, for already moving. 1. Commanding inside that command vessel was the brain, the signal. The voice that had once whispered the word weapon into her head. Now she would answer it. Jack looked at the screen. The enemy cargo ship, the one Sari marked earlier, was just ahead, quiet, shielded, waiting. Their job was simple: destroy it, cut the command signal, trigger chaos, and maybe, just maybe, give Earth time to wake up. As they approached, enemy sensors lit up. Too late, Jack pushed the thrusters. The ship roared. Sari raised both hands, and the panels on the sides began to shift like wings. The ship wasn't just flying, it was listening to her. First blast came fast, a red beam across their path. Jack turned sharp. The ship rolled left, missed the... Hit by meters, hold on, he shouted. Sorry, S. Voice was calm. I've got it. She reached forward. The walls of the ship pulsed once, and then fired back. Not with missiles. With light, a wave of blinding energy shot toward the cargo ship. It didn't destroy it, just opened it, revealed the core. That's it, Jack yelled. See it. He locked the missiles. Fired, impact. The cargo ship exploded. Not with fire, but with silence. Signal gone. Across Mars orbit. The enemy fleet began to shake. One turned the wrong direction. Another slowed. Confusion, exactly what they needed. But the command ship didn't stop. It accelerated. It's coming, Jock said. Sari nodded. This is where I go. He looked at her. What do you mean? She stepped toward the ship's core, a glowing pod she had repaired herself. If I reach their mind, I can stop them. Jack grabbed her wrist. Stop them how? She looked at him, not with fear, but with something worse. Peace. Double quotes. I give them what they took from me. Jack's voice cracked. She smiled. You gave me warmth, shelter, a name. She touched his chest. Now I give you time. She stepped into the pod. The door closed. Light swallowed her whole. The ship turned and flew straight into the command vessel. The enemy fired. Hit after hit. But Sari's ship never stopped. Inside the command vessel, systems collapsed. Screens went black. Weapons powered down, and for the first time, they were quiet. On Earth, a signal appeared. One word, translated from Sari's. Mind. Free. Jack sat in the wreckage of the escape pod. Fingers bleeding, eyes full. She was gone. But the stars above were different now. No longer watching. No longer hunting, just shining. Earth remembers the girl from the stars, not as a threat, not as a myth, but as the one who chose to save strangers. When no one else even believed her story. In museums, children say her name. Sorry, but Jack doesn't speak her name out loud. He just looks up at the night sky and says, thank you.